All right, we're here with Lal at the TL Audio Factory in Letchworth. How you doing, Lal?
Hi, I'm fine, thanks, and welcome to the factory.
All right, now you're going to give us a tour of the factory.
I am indeed, and where we're going to start is with the bare board. We take our bare boards, get them manufactured, they come in here bare board tested and ready for assembly, and we do all the components onto the board ourselves. All done in-house. One person can manufacture up to 12 boards at one time, and they go along and insert all the components until the board is fully loaded. And once it's fully loaded, it remains on the plate and then goes out to the back for cropping. Let's go have a look.
It's all done by hand?
All done by hand.
As we are seeing over here. Hello, what's your name?
Oh no, I'm camera shy.
You can tell me your name.
Sue.
Hi, Sue.
Hi.
So you're putting in components.
Uh-huh.
Handmade in the UK.
Uh-huh.
She's following the silk screen on the board and is doing it to the parts list.
Excellent. Thank you, Sue.
Okay.
Once the board is assembled, it comes out here on a plate. Which sits on this machine, and underneath the board all the legs are varying lengths at the moment, and they have to all be cropped to the same length. And this machine will do it for us. Automatically. The pins hold the components in position while the teeth come across under the plate and crop all the component legs to the same length. And this is an example of a crop board waiting for flow solder.
Good.
This board will be finished any second.
And the flow sorter, I guess that also is a lead-free.
Yeah, oh yeah, this machine here is quite a new machine really, and it's all lead-free technology, you might say, to put the unit through. Yeah.
Right.
Right, the cropping is finished and the coverage is slid back, and the underside of the board is now cropped. And you can't see any legs coming through at all because they've all been cropped to the thickness of the plate.
Perfect.
Right, you have to cut there for a second.
Right.
The machine.
A little bit about this wave soldering, because most people won't even know what we're talking about.
Well, the wave soldering technique, we insert a crop board at the end on a cage. It comes up through the preheat phase on a very hot plate to bring the board up to temperature, and then it will come to this area, and when the board gets close, the wave starts and the board passes over the wave, soldering all the joints, and then comes up to the end of the rack to be removed.
So that's a wave of hot solder.
Hot molten solder that the board just skims over sufficiently to solder all the joints underneath.
And then it goes up to the end here.
To the end here and gets taken off.
It gets cool at this end. I notice everything is at a sort of an angle.
Yes. And while this board's coming up here, going through the preheat and the solder, we'll be putting another board on at the beginning, ready to start up and come through as well. So it's virtually a continuous flow of boards coming through until we get the job finished.
Now, this is very hot in there. How hot does that get?
Well, that solder's about 275 degrees.
Wow.
Which is steaming hot. We don't want to be around there at all.
And there's a lot of it there.
Yes, there's a lot of it there, and it's continually going round, and all the impurities are dropping into these little catch plates here.
Right.
And then when we're finished, we just scoop the muck off the top, put it into a dross bin, and carry on.
All right.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
it's it takes away all our hand soldering and hand cropping, and is automated the whole thing, that makes it very repeatable and helps create a reliable product.
Great.
Okay, stores area where we buy in all of our components. Here we have potentiometers which are actually made to our specifications, especially for our products, and standard switches, mains components. Here we have our connectors, our integrated circuits and transformers, a whole wealth of bare boards here that come in, and we hold them here till we're ready to assemble them, and all our smaller components, capacitors and resistors, are shelved here, and everything is kitted into boxes prior to a job starting, so that for any given bare board there'll be a complete box of parts, and say for 50 or 100 boards they'll all be built up at the same time.
Right.
After flow soldering, the boards then come out onto this shelf, and they will sit here until we're ready to do our second stage of assembly, which would normally involve putting in the components that you can't flow while they're in the board. Here, for instance, you can see that the jack sockets on the back, and here would be potentiometers on the front, get fitted afterwards, as do various plug-in boards. And this is what we'd call our second stage of assembly after the initial flow soldering. To avoid getting solder on these parts, all these areas are masked with a piece of plastic on the bare board, and we just peel it off after flow soldering, as you'll probably see later.
Okay. Right.
The board then comes down to the second stage area, where the potentiometers and input and output sockets are fitted, and gradually the unit is then assembled with an additional board and a heatsink and transformer plate